This video is the fourth component dealing in overall AI literacy. Now we're talking about critical thinking. So in hitting all the different aspects of AI literacy, I want to say that critical thinking is the most important because it has so much impact. Yet we have to remember that all parts of AI literacy are vital because they work off of one another. Now, there is definitely some overlap, and you'll see that as I explain this. But the key thing is that each component plays a role to help students, to help ourselves, to help everyone develop overall AI literacy. So each one of them is very important. Now, we need to start off by having a shared operational definition of what we mean when we're talking about critical thinking. So the way that it's generally defined is objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form some sort of judgment, an informed judgment. So this means that we need to make sure that we're asking questions, right? We're doing analysis. In the same way, this is what we need to do whenever we work with the AI. We'll get results from the AI, very powerful, very usable results from an AI, but we still have to have this mindset of always questioning the results. It is prone to hallucination, and I think it's hard to say prone to hallucinations now because the amount of hallucinations, the amount of misinformation has gone way, way down since ChatGPT first came out. But the thing is, it's still there. There could be something wrong with it. Just like there could be something wrong when a subject matter expert talks. They could make a mistake. They could have outdated information, or they could be looking at it from the wrong perspective. So then the same way, we need to have that type of critical thinking, critical understanding to do critical analysis and verify all responses from an AI. The big thing I like to tell students is that AI is not a source of information. Now, sure, AI puts together all sorts of things, helps us in many different ways, helps us to organize, answers questions and all this, but it's using pre-trained data or it's accessing information that it's getting from the web. So we can't use it as like this is the specific data source is the AI. We should never do that. We should ask the AI, hey, give me sources for where you got this, right? Give me usable links. That's the best way to ask it. And then you go and check and verify that the information it's providing you is correct and accurate. So that's a big vital thing there to understand with overall AI and critical thinking just to begin with. But there, of course, there are many more aspects to this because now we're looking into different components. Where did it get its information, right? What are its data sources? What was it trained on? Was it ethical use of the information? These are important things for us to consider as far as the ethical aspects in general dealing with AI. Is it appropriate to use in this instance? Is it not appropriate to use? Are there issues as far as things associated with academic misconduct? Remember that our students are brand new to this as well. This is still, lots of universities and different educational institutions are just now putting together policies. So how can we expect students to be using it properly if we haven't trained them up properly? So that's a big thing to understand. And this is something that needs to be ongoing. There's research to back this up as well that, hey, students that are trained properly and that are reminded of what is correct use and is not violation of academic misconduct, then they will be less likely to do any type of cheating. So we have to remind them, we have to train them, we have to show them what's going on here. Now, along with that, there are additional things associated with this, right? We have ethics, but we also have issues of bias, meaning that, well, if it's trained on certain information and that information is biased, well, then the AI might very well be biased as well. Now, we also have to understand that bias exists in the world, right? Everyone is somewhat biased in some way. So we have to take that into account as we go through and use the information and use the AI. An AI that comes from the United States is probably going to be biased in some way towards Western aspects or Western thinking. Similarly, if an AI comes from China, from Russia, from the Middle East somewhere, there will probably be some bias associated with the region from which it came from, the language used in training, the company that's actually putting together and setting up guardrails, which is left and right limits. These are important aspects to understand when we're talking about the critical thinking and our critical analysis of the results that we get from the AI. So these are important things to think about. But of course, there's more. because we also have to think about the impacts occurring from using the AI. Are there effects on the environment? There's been lots of talk about the amount of electricity being used, the amount of water being used for cooling. These are things to consider. These are things to understand because remember, our very first component dealing with AI literacy was this awareness. So we should also have critical awareness to make these decisions. Do I want to use a company that is providing AI services but is not being environmentally friendly, is not maybe offsetting the use of all this electricity with some carbon tax credits, or doing something to try and minimize the effect, maybe investing more in the process to make it more efficient. All these things are really important for us to take an ethical account of the AI being used. This is even more important when we're talking about an educational institution making a decision as to which AI they want to go with, right? What subscription do they want to get? Is that a good AI? Are they being as environmentally friendly as possible? These are important things to consider. And then there are some other aspects as far as what are the impacts of using the AI on the person, on the student. We need to consider this as well, and this is part of our critical thinking. Is it good for the student to use AI all the time? No, of course not. We have to be purposeful in our decisions as to how we incorporate. We should be making real thoughtful analysis as far as, okay, I'm going to use AI here to help them learn this component. I'm going to teach them about this, and we're not going to use AI here. But that will give them foundational knowledge so that when we do use AI later in the semester or for this different task, now they'll be able to use the AI and they'll be able to be that much more effective because they gain foundational knowledge over here. These are the types of things that we need to be thinking about. So, of course, this is similar to the share technique that I talked about in another video where I'm discussing ways that we can use AI to effectively interact with our students, not just to use technology for the sake of technology, but to use it effectively and appropriately. But you as the instructor are the ones making those decisions because you're the subject matter experts. So you're making these thoughts, you're thinking it through, and then you're deciding when should I use AI, when should I not use AI, and then how should I use it. Another big thing that ties right directly into that is over-reliance. So over-reliance is a very important aspect, and that means using the AI so much that we start to lose skills or it prevents us from learning new skills. This is a real thing that OpenAI themselves, when they released GPT-4, they had a technical paper and they brought this up there. So this is a real thing that we need to be aware of. Now, when I say over reliance and losing certain skills, we should be okay with that, but only if it's purposeful, only if we're allowing certain things to go away, right? We're making that choice. We shouldn't just be using the AI and then all of a sudden, oh, I lost this skill. So that's something to be aware of. And then this idea of it preventing us from learning new skills, we have to be conscious of that as well. We have to be always pushing our students to understand that it's not just this matter of, yes, AI has all this knowledge and I can access this all the time, but I'll be able to do much more with that knowledge if I already have knowledge as well. If I am continually working to develop myself as a subject matter expert, then if I use the AI as an additional enhancement tool, now I'll be that much more powerful, that much more competitive, as opposed to someone that isn't learning and simply using the AI to do everything for them. That's over reliance. So that's the problematic area. So we have to be conscious of that to help our students understand that, yeah, you need to continually develop yourself so that you can be that much more effective, that much more of this star player because you have the capabilities within yourself and you're able to use AI at this high level. So that comes by developing their AI literacy as well so that they can use it effectively and appropriately. And then also continuing that mindset of always willing to learn, having this growth mindset type of thing. So that's important for our students as well as for ourselves. We need to understand that we are living in this world where we are going to need to continually learn. There's going to be all sorts of enhancements. There's going to be new tools. We need to be okay with that. We need to be all right with learning and developing and then learning again and developing again. That is okay. And that's the future. And we can do this together by understanding the different aspects of what's going on and by being part of this community, such as this, reading books, going to conferences, And just having discussions with one another, I think will really go a long way. Now, along the same lines, we need to think about, well, what's the best way that I can teach my students critical thinking, dealing with what we just talked about as far as these different aspects and how they apply to AI literacy. The very first one is discussion. Simply bringing this up and asking questions to the students and having them pose questions, ethical issues, all sorts of different things. Is this appropriate? Is this not appropriate? When should we use it? How can we use it? One of the big things that I do with my students is that whenever I assign something, I take a step back, I sit down in the classroom with them and I say, okay, how could AI be used to do this assignment? Is that appropriate? Is that not appropriate? Let's come to an agreement on how we can use AI for this. Maybe we can use AI for this portion or this portion. Maybe we shouldn't be using AI at all. So we have this discussion where it really forces them to think through their ideas, not just throw out an idea, but have reasons behind them. And then we try to think about that and then incorporate that. So we're all on the same sheet of music. We're all in agreement on the use of AI for this instruction, for this assignment or assessment. So that's an important way. Discussion, questions, having them post questions as well. Another big one that I strongly recommend is to use case studies. This is a powerful way that really gets them more into the subject matter. So the way that we do this is we simply go out into the internet and find some sort of news report. It's really more powerful when we're using a case study if it's real. If it's real, if it's timely, if it's relevant, then that goes a long way. So we find something that maybe is loosely associated with our topic, but definitely deals with critical thinking aspects, maybe ethical concerns, environmental considerations, over reliance on AI, anything like that that ties somewhat in with your topic as well would really be beneficial here. So we can take that news article and then we can give it to the AI itself. We can ask the AI and say, this is a news article dealing with this. I want you to turn it into a case study for me to use with my students. So here's an example of an actual prompt that you can use for this. Please assume the role of a university instructional designer. Use only the details within this news article at whatever news article you want, and create a case study that I can use to teach my students. I'm trying to develop my students' AI literacy skills, specifically dealing with critical thinking. I'm instructing university students. I want them to develop their critical thinking skills by applying what we are learning to real life situations. Do you need any additional information to give me the best result? So you can fill this in with whatever specific topic applies to your course as well. And the results from that are very effective, very usable. It breaks it down, gives you some great questions to ask. It provides a way to have them really critically analyze, critically think about this. And again, you're making the decisions on how appropriate this is because you can always go in and have it change the difficulty level, meaning that you could make the questions more difficult, less difficult by simply adding a prompt such as this. This was very good, but this is their first case study. Create a new set of discussion questions that are a little bit easier using simpler language to help ensure that they succeed with their first teaching and learning activity with critical thinking and AI literacy. And again, you can modify that as you want or as you think would be the most effective. And from that, sure enough, we get additional really good questions that are more simplistic for whatever need that you have for this topic and to help them learn this. And that's the key, is that we want to help them develop this capability. That won't happen on its own. They won't become critical thinkers. They won't take these things into account on their own. A majority won't. That's simply the way it is. That's why we come in, right? We develop this within ourselves as far as AI literacy, specifically critical thinking, and then we can pass this on and teach this to our students. So that's why it's vital that we are part of this and are purposeful in developing this within our students. Now, I've talked with many different educational institutions, universities, all sorts of things around the world. And right now, what I recommend is that, yeah, there should be a course that students go through to help to develop these skills. But what really needs to happen is that this needs to be incorporated throughout the entire curriculum, is that we need to have AI literacy aspects as student learning outcomes that should be spread out throughout the curriculum so that students can continually develop this. Because as the technology changes and as it enhances, these are skills, foundational information that needs to continually be developed to remind the student and to help them to develop this along the way. Now, that's just foundational knowledge dealing with AI literacy, which is what we're talking about. But on top of that should be specific AI skills for whatever degree they're getting. Because regardless of the degree, there's AI skills, AI tools being used within that degree that they need to develop, that they need to understand so that they can be competitive and understanding when they go out into the workforce. So this is a very special call to action for all of us, that we need to ensure that our students are developing the proper skills to be effective out there. And when I say the proper skills, it's not just a matter of, yes, I'm going to be effective in the workforce, right? But the proper skills, meaning all of the other AI literacy components, to include awareness, critical awareness. What's going on in society with AI? Is that good? Is that bad? If it's bad, well, what can I do about it? Maybe this is something that I need to push back on, that I should contact my leadership on, whether that's at a local level, at a governmental level, right? These are all important aspects that we need to have as we move forward with this. And the way that we can do that, the only way we can do that is together, by developing this, having a community of inquiry, community of practice, so that we can learn and develop from one another. I hope this video series helps as a big resource for all of you, so that you can develop it, so that you can help your students, so that you can show your students directly. Together, we'll definitely get through this and improve education for everyone involved. And remember, learning is for life.